try. Okay, we're going to try very hard. Good morning. You are with Gareth Cliff Show live on The Real Network, and Leanne Mulder's here. Hooray!
Yay!
Well, we're very happy to have you back, Ass, and I know you've had a couple of really rough days and weeks. How's the family?
Yeah.
Her dad died. That's why we have to. So we're just filling it in case people don't know. Because, you know, people are awkward about that stuff, right? They're like, as soon as they see you for the first time after you've lost someone in your family, it's obviously it's as big a deal as it gets. And then they're like, hi, Leanne. And they get weird,
you seem
right?
different to people when you're in my position. Like, people see me differently now. For a little bit, they will.
Yeah.
Like tiptoeing around me, etc.
Good, use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I have a few times I've had to play the card. Any bills that I missed or anything, I'm just like, well, my dad died.
No, you just cry.
Yeah, so I mean, it was very, very sad because he was only 68.
No, sure, and a healthy guy for most of that time.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can see, I've got a little eye twitch going on.
Ooh, is it do you think that's part of?
Yeah, it's like part of the stress and the tiredness, really.
It's got like a mini Tourette's thing happening in the one eye.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be watching your eye all morning. This is going to be so much fun.
I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh, it's gone. No,
there it is.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's very. Wait, hang on. I haven't even seen it yet. Oh, there's a little one. A little bit of a twitch. How exciting. Okay.
Yeah, no one can really understand unless you lose a parent that you love. But
it's important to make that distinction too. I mean, like, some people don't get along well with.
Yeah, some people are like good riddance, you know.
Yeah.
Not like that for us. Very, very close family. Saw him every single day of his 5 months in hospital. And eventually he weighed 47 kilograms.
Oh, that's awful.
Really struggling, and it was one step forward, two steps back. But right from, my brother and I went to go and see his body in the morning. And the surgeons were the intensivists. The intensivist who was there was the one who tried to revive him for half an hour. He was crying. He said, I've never known a patient who's so well liked by all of the doctors, all the nurses, the other patients. Just a really loved man. And it was when we started putting together the guest list for the memorial service. We said that we would have it in our home garden because we always wanted him to kind of come home to his garden. And the list just grew and grew. You realize that you accumulate so many friends, acquaintances. Some family members die, but they're new ones who replace them. And eventually we had to go to a venue, but
because there are too many people.
We had it at a private botanical garden, which was just beautiful. And the day felt more like a celebration, which is what was great.
That's awesome.
People had such a lovely time. You know, we were just freely walking around the gardens and chatting in our own time. And it really was beautiful and light and a celebration. Which is great.
You can't ask for more, right?
Nobody wanted to be stuck in a church
or miserable,
and neither would my dad.
With sad speeches and
organ music.
Yeah. Oh no, not
pamphlets.
Everybody's.
We didn't even have pamphlets because there were no hymns to sing or anything like that. And it was so interesting because my dad was born on Christmas Day. He was baptized Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh yeah.
His mother had been brought up, my gran, in a Jewish family through adoption. And my dad himself was Buddhist.
So you got all of them there. It's pretty.
And then marrying my mom.
It's a bit of a free-for-all.
whose mother's deeply Christian. So we had kind of normal, eulogies and fun memories and laughs. And then I stood up to do... I stood up to do the Christian reading and the Buddhist prayer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, they found the only staunch agnostic atheist in the family.
Wow. Really bad delegation of duties here. I think that we need to call someone in from your family.
But that brought out a laugh because I said immediately, if anyone who knows me knows that doing a Christian service reading, sermon reading, and a Buddhist prayer is probably not up my alley. That made people laugh. But in essence, he found the goodness in any religion. And as I was searching through his books of the study of Buddhism, I found passages that he highlighted. And you do only realize after the person's gone how much they really loved something or were so passionate about it. He was very quietly passionate about it. So, that was really amazing. We found some amazing prayers or readings as well, which was great. But yes, and then family time with family members who'd come from overseas, his brother and sister, and ended up staying with the family. So we made sure we did something lovely every day. For instance, going to Cradle of Humankind, spending the day out there, just, happy, but a little bit somber. And now that they've gone, it's back to work, and that's a new phase to get through.
Yeah. But you have to keep busy as well, huh?
You have to keep busy, but you also have to not feel guilty about moving on and thinking of what the person would want for you. And you're not going to forget at all. You may need to concentrate at work, but you save a little bit of time every day to remember and to feel sad.
James, we're going to have to cancel those higher grade maths tests that we had prepared for Leanne. I think it might be a bit too much for her to the first day. Those 3 5-hour exams we wanted her to do for fun. Remember?
I would have failed them anyway. You know me and maths. I did say to the family yesterday, the shift was from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. So it was 6 hours. To which my brother responded, so obviously from 1 a.m. to 1 p.m. would be the shortest.
Yeah, you're still really good at maths.
Yeah.
Sure. I've the last 2 weekends have been odd for me. I've kind of mostly been just chilling. But I am also now the only person who's cleaning my house and sorting out all of that shit. So I'm doing washing.
You don't have any help?
No, Leanne.
Your help has left?
I've had such a hard time. I mean, I know your dad died, but I'm having a very hard time.
Is this by choice?
There's no one. I have to clean. It's so sad. My life is so difficult. Me. Anyway, how about you?
Now you?
No, it's nice though. I mean, it's, therapeutic. You're listening to podcasts. You're busy tidying up, sorting out. I'm also kind of getting into, it's that time of year now where you're starting to think, shit, the end of the year is right around the corner. And it is. You have to get your stuff together. Yeah. Start thinking like, whoa, 2025 is just around the corner. We've got to get our heads right.
And we
start preparing.
We kind of think that there's this big block of nothingness at the end of the year, but
Always.
It's not really. It goes by very quickly, and it's for most people a week.
Yeah. No. I think there are also lots and lots of people who are just very, very tired. Because it's been a pretty insane year. I mean, I don't expect you to have been paying attention to the news in the last 2 weeks, but man, has there been a lot going on in the world.
Well,
and I woke up this morning, I see that there are all these anti-Semitic attacks in Holland, Sweden, some really horrible things happening in the news. Obviously, there's the come down from Trump's election last week, and America coming to terms with that too. The rest of the world also coming to terms with it. So there's plenty going on. I mean, it's not as if, no matter what happens in your life, it's not as if everything stops.
No, exactly. And I mean, Trump's re-election was right in the middle of everything for us. And we had my uncle, Robert Kennedy, who is a true Kennedy from New York. He was with us. And my uncle from Australia, both of them Republicans. And we just banned talking about politics. Yeah, it was banned.
It would have led to all kinds of trouble, right? Yeah.
I mean, the results came through. Families. We all looked at our phones and we went.
So it was that difficult.
Yes, very.
Because I know in America there are families that have been torn apart over the last couple of months over these elections, and now that it's done, hopefully they can also just get on with it.
Yeah.
got to deal with reality.
I mean, you've obviously spoken about it here, but I don't know. I haven't heard what your opinion about it is and how you feel about it.
Thrilled.
Okay, I mean,
what must I tell you? I am absolutely over the moon delighted that this happened, and I think it's very good for America and the world. And it's a reckoning that the American people have been wanting to have with powerful elites, with the state, with the Democratic Party. There are a lot of things that they have to deal with now. Things that they've got to sort out that they've been putting on the back burner for too long. They've been kicking the can down the road about stuff which Americans care about. And this has been like an overwhelming mandate given to the Republicans and to Trump, in spite of everything. I mean, I heard Kamala Harris, by the way, I heard she spent over $1 billion. She raised $1 billion in campaign funding. Obviously, a lot of that she wasted on stupid celebrity endorsements, which were completely ineffective. I don't think they're able to manage any measurement of celebrity endorsements and whether or not they helped. But I don't think they made a scrap of difference. Certainly it appears to me that, like, I know it's hard to accept this, but Cardi B really didn't persuade anybody. It's like there were maybe a couple of million people who were like, well, we don't know what to do, but as soon as we hear from Cardi B, we'll know. Said nobody.
No.
And we spoke last week about how celebrity endorsements are just it's the worst possible investment. Celebrities can't sell shit anymore. And that's good.
Worthless.
It's become, but it's good. We needed like a rebalancing. I mean, someone like Cardi B, for example, has been paid millions of dollars to back certain brands and products. And now people are going, whoa, hang on a second. If this person can't even persuade someone who is going to do something that doesn't earn them money, doesn't really change their lives on a day-to-day basis, but we can persuade them to change their beliefs, change their votes, or even just, if they don't care about it, cast the vote. She couldn't do that. What's her value? Same goes for Taylor Swift. Same goes for Beyonce.
Was Taylor Swift paid?
J-Lo.
Do you think?
Who knows? I don't think these people do it for nothing. And they've got managers and people who are like these horrible people in the background who are like, we're not doing that for nothing. And they want their share of the pie, right? But who knows? Maybe they just did it because they support a candidate. There is that rare opportunity of like honesty. But I think people are also, whether they're young or old, there's something going on at the moment that I feel it's undeniable that people are just sick of like bullshit. They just don't want to hear a bullshit story anymore. They'd rather hear from someone who's thought something through. This is what I believe. This is what I think. This is how I feel. And explain yourself. It's not just roll the dice and that's what I believe because some famous person believes it.
And or somebody who was paid for it.
Well, yeah, probably even worse. I think lots and lots of people are just not interested in hearing from like really, really wealthy, really successful, famous people when they're going through their own shit. They're like, I'm worried about the cost of petrol, gas in America. Why should I care about what these celebrities say? And I think that would be true.
It doesn't carry as much weight as it did.
No,
at all.
I mean, I'm trying to think now. Is there a celebrity who you would go, oh my God, if that person says something, I'll listen?
No,
no
one in the world.
There's no one for me either. Like whoever. I mean, you might be a very nice person. I saw Prince William was in the country the other day.
Yes,
he was talking about this Earthshot Prize, which is it seems to me a very good thing. But he went on about climate change, and I was suddenly like,
bit of a muzzy.
I don't need to hear. Yeah, like no, I don't need a prince to tell me that ordinary people all over the world are fucking the world up, and you stop now, you peasants. I don't need that. You don't need that. No one wants to hear that. And by the way, if you're going to tackle anything to do with the environment, you're going to talk to me about climate change, or the polar ice caps are melting, or they're cutting down forests, or very, very worthy things worthy of our attention. If you're going to talk about any of that, you need to say to me how you're going to deal with China and India and other countries that are burning fossil fuels at a rate that if we burnt every scrap of coal we could find in South Africa, we wouldn't get to the levels that they're doing. Unless you have a plan for India and China, I don't want to hear you just virtue signal.
And in fact, he was, it was Robert Irwin, Steve Irwin's son, who put a video out on social media of him and the prince chatting casually in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And in the comments, everyone was like, forget the prince. Robert Irwin's here. They were more excited about Robert Irwin. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, he's Steve Irwin's kid. I saw the best, I don't know if it's a meme or just a picture that was out there on the weekend of Steve Irwin, like with some animal, some little furry animal. And he's like, there's 100% chance you're reading this in my voice. Which is exactly right. But yeah, listen, there's no one in the world who is so special that whatever they say is gospel.
No,
not anymore.
Absolutely not.
So in some way, like this is the most humble period in human history in some way, because we're not going to take anyone and elevate them to the status of godliness. Lindy says Trump's already calling the shots to stop gender transformation surgery in kids. Listen, I can't talk this morning. Can't fault the guy. I never understood how that was legal in the first place. Yeah, he's doing a lot. I mean, I kind of, as a bit of a joke, I tweeted something out about how in his first 72 hours, he's already achieved a bunch of things. And I don't know, some people might think this is very, very stupid, but he's not president yet, right? He's just the president-elect. So as the president-elect, there's really very little you can do except wait around until January the 20th, I think, when you are inaugurated. But he's been working with the transition team in the background for some time now, getting things ready.
Transformation team. The gender transformation team.
Yeah, the gender transition team, yeah. They're going to be doing that. And the things that he's achieved in the first 72 hours, you know, I mean, like suddenly Hezbollah and Hamas are like, we'd really like to think about this peace thing that you've been throwing around for a while. Why? Because there isn't a vegetable in the White House for a very long time. They've got Joe Biden in there. I don't know. He's growing roots, or he's fallen asleep with his pudding spilt all over him, or something. But he's in there until January the 20th. But they're not worried about him. They're worried about what comes afterwards. So they're suddenly jumping. China and Ukraine are both saying, let's figure out a way to resolve this. This is good. This would never have happened if Kamala had become president. You know, they would have been like, whatever's happening in America, we'll just ignore that, carry on, do our own thing.
But just to go to Lindy's comment about gender transformation surgery in kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's important.
Are you still going for your up?
To realize I went for it a long time ago. I passed now.
Have you transitioned completely?
But no, many understand one thing. Many children are born with both genders. It's more common than you think. And a decision has to be made within a few days.
What, like vagina and cock and balls?
Yes, or like a uterus and testes.
Like a hermaphrodite thing.
Yeah, happens more often than you know, and they have to have gender transformation surgery at a very young age. Often there are complications with passing urine. Those decisions have to be made within days. So stopping gender transformation surgery in kids, it's a fine line. Sometimes it's completely necessary.
No. I think what they're talking about is not when a child is born and it needs to be functional. That's something that doctors will still have complete jurisdiction over.
I wonder.
No, they will. This is about, you know, people who are 6 or 7 being put on puberty blockers because their parents think it would be nice to have an accessory trans kid. You know, that's what we're talking about. And there are people as deranged as that. They suffer from Munchausen's, and they make their children go through these things so they can say at dinner parties, well, you know, I've got a them, they, or whatever. And really, there are people that twisted. And then there are obviously kids who've been misled by propaganda and nonsense, that the source of their problem isn't that they are obviously 13 and going through puberty and it's tough and you just want to get away from, you hate your hair, your skin, your body, you hate everything about yourself. And, oh, wait, here's a possible explanation that will guarantee you don't get bullied because people won't be allowed to say anything, become a them, they. And it is. It's like an art for some people.
Yeah.
No, and I do, listen, there are, and I think even the most hawkish person in the Trump regime, I don't know if hawkish is really even a term you could use in this context, but anyway, I think all of them realize that there are genuinely people who have body dysmorphia. And there are. And I think those people fall outside of the scope of an overall ban. But at the moment, it's like if you grew up in certain states in America and you decided on a whim that you now wanted to be called Sheila, you don't need your parents' permission to go and end up in a program where you will ultimately have transition surgery. And I don't think that that's right. I think parents should be consulted. I think that schools shouldn't be able to keep this information from parents, which is also part of the problem. And it's not a big widespread issue. It happens, but it's been a social contagion, as per a number of really, really good books that have been brought out over the last 3 or 4 years. More of a social contagion than an actual ongoing social issue. And we'll see whether or not that's true now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be parents who will fight, for their kids to have the right to go through this stuff. Again, on a case-by-case basis, you have to evaluate them. There's no way you can make it an overall rule and say, well, nobody or everybody. And I think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see what goes on, because there's so much scope now for, Trump and his team, which includes some very, very smart people. He hasn't just brought the same people who were in there before, or a bunch of Washington insiders and bureaucrats, and people are trying to protect their own jobs, which we saw from the last administration. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see how quickly he fires as well this time around.
Yeah, and he should be firing a lot of people. So at least he's had practice on the Apprentice.
Yes.
You're fired. Anyway, that's not the only story. And there's quite a lot going on in the US at the moment, but that might not be your focus at all. It might be here in South Africa at home. A lot of stories in the news about tech and all kinds of other cool stuff happening.
Nice.
And we've got Dr. Hanan joining us in a short while. So we'll catch up with him. I've got this story, which I thought might be quite interesting. I never knew that cheese was such a big deal. But apparently, a recent cheese theft in the... I'm going to try not to laugh. Okay. A recent cheese theft in the UK, which has been dubbed the Grate cheese robbery, involved the disappearance of 950 truckles of cheese. Is that a...
I think so.
Is that
it's
a unit
like
of cheese?
If you think about
like a wheel of cheese.
A wheel, yeah.
A truckle of cheese. Apparently, these 950 truckles of cheese, valued at 5.6 million rand, which is, it's quite a lot of money for cheese, The incident highlights a growing trend in food-related crime, particularly targeting luxury cheese, which is becoming increasingly valuable. The global food industry loses an estimated $30 to $50 billion annually to food crime. Did you know this?
No, I had no idea.
Food crime.
No idea. I didn't know people were stealing cheese.
High prices fueled by...
A truckle is about 1 kilogram.
You looked it up. Thank you.
I'm looking at
a truckle.
The carsclub.co.za. A Boerland truckle, approximately 1 kilogram, for instance. And that in this case is 485 Rand in South Africa.
So this is expensive.
And yes, it is one of those big moldy circular wheels.
A wheel of cheese, yeah. Okay, so apparently high prices, rising production costs, inflation are leading to more smuggling and theft of food. Although cheese theft isn't new, incidents reported as far back as 1998. The cheese thieves have been busy since then. The frequency of these crimes is increasing. Lock up your cheese.
Wow. And no, it's not those processed little slices that you slap onto your burger.
No, it's not. No one's
We're
coming
talking
to
about the good stuff.
No one's coming to get your Gouda, all right?
Yeah.
Calm the fuck down, Sharon. No one's coming to get your cheddar. It's not the, oh my God, I thought I had some camembert in the fridge, but a fucking cheese thieves have taken it. So don't worry. It would be the more expensive, more rare, more
Your
fancy
jar of Melrose is fine.
Yeah, I think that'll be a processed cheese. You don't have to worry. Organized crime networks are capitalizing on the food industry by infiltrating legitimate businesses to transport stolen goods, taking advantage of the fact that food-related crimes generally carry lighter sentences than drug crimes. So if you're going to steal cocaine or, heroin or any of the really hard drugs, you'll get a very hard sentence. Steal cheese?
Because it can affect other people in a negative way. But stealing cheese just means some people don't get cheese and some people, it's the great cheese robbery.
Oh, wow.
Did they spell it like that?
I don't know. I think it's very clever if they did.
Yeah.
And then they say that there is a person in South Africa who they're already looking at who's a major cheese theft kingpin. But they're not entirely sure who it might be. They're going to start with fat people, and they'll winnow it down from there.
Yeah.
So if you know anyone who's really, really fat, ask them about a truckle of cheese, and if they know, then it's a high chance they could be the kingpin.
You do wonder what the kingpin of cheese theft would look like.
I think they'd be quite big. They'd have to be. Well, if you were forced to steal food, what would you steal? Because you know how in South Africa we've got this big problem, right? Whenever a truck breaks down and it's got food or alcohol in it,
or
whatever,
something.
Usually food and drink. It's like, although, sometimes you see a truck break down with like HD TVs on it, and that provides another opportunity. Suddenly people just arrive out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You could break down in the middle of the Karoo.
Yes.
There's not a person for 100 miles.
There's a certain smell that
I don't know what
filters into the air when a truck overturns.
It's the weirdest thing, and you can see this in cities, out in the country, just pretty much anywhere. If any of these trucks that are carrying lots of stuff break down or they fall over, because really, no one knows what's in a truck until like they fall over or it breaks down and then the doors open or whatever. But as soon as people know what's in there, forget about it.
Come out of nowhere.
And I saw someone moaning about this on Twitter the other day, and I was like, what are you going to do though? So we don't have a means of. Imagine there was like a broadcaster. People of South Africa, please stop stealing shit from broken down trucks, because they do. Not cheese, TVs, cheese. I'm sure cheese would be stolen.
Oh yeah, anything.
Soft drinks, alcohol trucks. Whenever they break down. And like people can see what's in there, forget about it.
Yeah, there must be quite a science to stealing cheese as well. You've got to retain its value, so you have to keep it at a certain temperature, store it in a certain way if you're going to try and sell it on the black market.
And it's hard work.
It is hard work.
You're not stealing something that's going to last forever or that you can exchange for other things easily.
And it can be stinky work too.
It can be very like a smelly cheese, very bad. I don't know about you, but when I get to restaurants and they bring the chili and the
Parmesan
and that the smell of the Parmesan cheese.
Oh, really?
I send it away.
My mum hates it because she says it looks like foot shavings.
Oh, but it smells to me like, I don't know. I'm very sensitive to the smell of things. That's why also with cheeses, I'm not a big fan of anything that isn't very, very mild. I can only...
You won't eat blue cheese?
Oh, hell no. I don't. Oh. None of that stuff. If they put any of it in a salad, I'm out. I can't do it.
Goat's cheese?
Nope. Well, feta. Isn't feta goat's cheese? I can do feta.
It is, but I'm talking more like...
All right, I can name them.
Yeah.
There are only like 3 or 4 I can actually eat. Cheddar, mozzarella, Gouda, feta. That's me. I'm not going to pretend I have a sophisticated palate for this stuff. I know people who they'll like lose their mind over some cheese that's been under a bell jar for 20 years
in the ground,
and it's crumbly or it's watery or it's runny or it's something that some people absolutely lose their shit for a cheese. Those are probably the kind of people who would buy an illegal black market cheese,
a truckle of cheese,
a truckle off of some. When people joke, oh, you got that off the back of a truck, right? This is literally getting your cheese off the back of. And also the other funny thing about this to me is that people sometimes talk about money as cheese.
Yes.
So have you got enough cheese? Well, these people.
There's also cutting the cheese.
That's farts.
You see, I told you we would get lavatorial.
Leanne and I swore that we would start this show this morning. We wouldn't go anywhere near bottoms or lavatories or anything revolting like that.
Now we've done genitals and
we've ruined it. We've ruined it. We were doing so well. All right. Well, anyway, there's your cheese story to start the whole week for you. You needed this. You didn't know you needed it, but now you do. Right. And then that leads us to the pizzeria that Leanne and I wanted to open up once called Cheese's Crust.
Yes, remember that.
We were never brave enough to do it.
That was from a movie.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was hilarious. Oh. Yeah.
And the waitress comes up to the table and she goes, "Welcome to Cheese's Crust. Our pizzas are heavenly and divine, and they will save your soul." And she's like not interested in it at all. And then the pizzas arrive and they're in the shape of a cross.
Ridiculous.
I did have a pizza over the weekend, which was very nice. So there's cheese working for me. That may be illegal cheese. Who knows?
I went to is a restaurant in the south of Johannesburg, considering that's where my dad grew up, where I grew up.
Yeah.
And my dad's family who are now visiting from overseas. We had to go down memory lane.
Uh-oh.
So we all adults piled into a taxi or a van that we rented off of, one of the apps. But you can't choose. Like with Uber, for instance, you can choose Uber Black, various types. Uber van is just Uber van. You don't know what you're getting. We got into this like proper taxi. I think he uses it as a taxi as well. Okay, it was not in a good state.
Yeah.
And his driving was incredulous. But went through the back of town and into Rosettenville, Turfentine, and ended up in Robertsham at Giovanni's restaurant, which I was last there 33 years ago.
Wow, real trip down memory lane.
Yeah. And interestingly, my aunt who was with us was a waitress there.
Oh.
And when we walked in, the owner, Giovanni, whatever his name is,
I would think that
was there and recognized her.
I think it's a safe bet to guess that the place called Giovanni's might have an owner called Giovanni. I don't know. I mean, it's not too much of a stretch.
Yeah.
That would be my first bet.
No, exactly. So we had, that's the pizza that we had.
Puzza.
Yeah. And also interesting was comments about how things have either deteriorated or improved since they've left South Africa.
What, do you mean the foreign guests?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And you
it's
must
my
have
family
heard,
from Australia.
Yeah, you must have heard some of both. I know how you feel about all of them.
Oh, no.
No, listen, I think weekends like that, well, you've now had a whole week or two with the fans. It can be very draining too. You sometimes just, like, I want to be in my own house and just do my own thing for like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
When you're looking after people, it's hard. It sounds like you were entertaining them nonstop.
All the time, yeah.
Sure. Okay. That adds to the strain.
It does. My brother and I would find each other and lean against a wall somewhere and go, I'm so tired. And then get back to it. Yeah, they left on Saturday.
All right. Well, there we go. Leanne's life going back to normal slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're doing in the comments. And we haven't really been paying enough attention to the comments this morning. So let me do that before I get shat on by the people in the comments section. Because you know what they like, right? So let's go. To make blue cheese, you need to stick copper rods in the cheese, says Bitcoin Bud. I didn't know that. Are you talking about Geno's?
Geno's, yes, thank you.
That's what Carl says.
Geno's.
He's also from the South.
The South.
I feel lactose intolerant now, says Raven. Listen, some people are big on food, but you get people who are like extra, they zone in on a particular kind of food, become experts in it.
Yeah.
I've never really been a big cheese guy. I can name a few of them, mostly from the Monty Python cheese skit.
Oh.
But otherwise, I wouldn't know. I don't know the difference between a brie,
provolone,
a ricotta. I don't know any of these things. What do I know about these? I couldn't tell you, except most of them I won't eat. I did once order something and it had a smelly cheese in it and made everything horrible. So I'm definitely not a candidate for that stuff. Gareth, for someone of immense wealth, I'm surprised by your Neanderthal palate. First of all,
immense
wealth. Fuck, I should be so lucky. Anyway, yeah, I do. I have such a bland. I mean, I can eat chili and stuff, so I don't suppose it's that bad. And I like a wide variety of food, but I'm by no means a sophisticated. Would you call them a gourmand?
A foodie.
Yeah, I think I'm probably. Yeah, you get the live to eat people, you get the eat to live people. I'm the eat to live people. I'm not the live to eat people.
Yeah.
And it is amazing to me how many people's whole day or week or year is centered around meals.
Even their travel choices.
I'm going here because I want this.
Residence or town.
Yeah. I felt so bad. We went to my brother and sister-in-law yesterday. A little family lunch, and I had the worst headache. It started at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like a zombie for most of the afternoon.
That would have been a migraine, surely.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
I was like lying down, and I was no use or fun at all. Very, very boring. Cheese is fungible. Well, is it? Can you trade cheese for anything? I suppose you could. Maggots cheese? Oh, gee. Please tell me that's not a thing. It's would Gareth just take a pill instead of eating if he could? Wouldn't you, that Don Kitty? I mean, that would be amazing.
No, a lot of people would not.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a complete. I don't hate food. Good food is amazing. Right? We're all going into the end of the year now. There's all that holiday stuff that people are going to be thinking about. It wouldn't be Christmas for me if there wasn't Christmas food. But I haven't thought about what I'm going to have for lunch or supper. Have you?
No, I haven't.
No. Some people, they've got the whole thing planned. Some of them are not even foodies. They prepare all their meals. So they know exactly what they're eating the rest of this week. They know there's no surprises. Yeah. And in some ways I can kind of understand that. It just takes that. It's like people who wear the same
Especially
outfits.
If you've got a million kids.
Yeah, you don't want to be thinking about that. It gets quite boring. But some people, it's like, ooh, tonight I'm going to do, maybe they're very talented chefs. I'm going to make this and it's going to be fantastic and I'm excited. And the whole day they're building up to it. I've never thought about life that way. But I suppose different stuff, huh? Different strokes for different folks. Carl says, one of life's greatest pleasures is good food. And we live in the best food country on earth. Do you really think so?
Definitely one of the best. And if you look at our restaurants and chefs and the talent that we have.
He says, this conversation is ridiculous. Carl, how about that? What do you mean ridiculous? Not everyone is a foodie. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not missing something.
Ridiculous. What do you got a worm in your head, Carl? What's going on here? My husband grew up with a regular menu, certain meals and certain days of the week.
Oh.
Yeah, there are people who do that too. Hey, I'm not criticizing foodies. I'm really not, thank God. And you're the kind of guys who will be buying the stolen cheese from the great cheese robbery in England. So we need you. All I'm saying is not all of us are motivated on a daily basis by food. I will tell you this on a quick update, because we haven't spoken about this since we had Tanya Fisser, the gardener, on.
Yes.
But my vegetable garden is looking fucking spectacular, okay?
That's amazing.
I've got spinach up to here. I've got lettuces. I've got little tomatoes growing. I've got all the herbs. Fantastic
Have you
stuff.
eaten any of it yet?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone in and just like pulled a leaf off a lettuce or whatever, but I haven't made anything. This week's the week to harvest. But it's looking fantastic. So
that's
I
amazing.
just want to say I'm not a disgrace.
Yeah.
I was very worried that this was going to be a complete fuck up and I'd have to come back on the show and say to you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think anything was going to, like, amazing was going to come of it, so I'm quite proud.
No, and I'll tell you what, it looks, especially after the rain now, it'll be fantastic. So that's looking good. You know, find things to learn, and I'm learning a little bit of horticulture. You got to get a horticulture at some point.
Yes, you've got to.
You know? Anyway, some of the stinkiest cheeses are white dudes for Carmela. That's from... that is great. That is from Gray. Okay, very, very nice. Sugar says, today I have to be super early. I left my unfinished scopo at work. It must be a boom there. I have my perfume ready now. Ooh, So if there's any smell in the world that is extremely off-putting, no matter what, it's like an old lunchbox or something that's been left in a packet over a long time in the heat.
Someone was speaking a few days ago about potatoes that were in like their digs.
Oh yeah,
raw, like normal potatoes, uncooked. That they'd forgotten somewhere, and they couldn't find these things.
Oh Jesus!
All male digs as well.
So what happened?
Because they ferment. That's where you can get vodka from. It's one of the sources. Right. No, apparently it was the worst smell in the world. It smelled like rotting bodies. And they found them eventually. These sloppy, sprouting, juicy potatoes.
That is but don't they? I mean, I've seen potatoes grow like roots and things.
Yeah, they sprout.
Right, and then they have little leaves.
You can plant them, yeah.
Potatoes are a weird thing. I don't know how to grow them. I don't know anything about that side of things. But again, like carbohydrates, they keep telling us it's bad for you. Carl says, I'm not a fucking foodie. I hate that term. I'm just saying good food is what makes life worth living. Hey, I'm not disagreeing. I do know what I'm doing for lunch. I am. I'm going for lunch with 3 other people this afternoon to celebrate Trump's victory, which is very exciting.
My gosh.
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to have yet, but I'll get to that, I haven't thought about it. I'll look at the menu and then decide in a minute. That's just, by the way, another thing. These people who take so long to decide what they're going to have at a restaurant. I always feel for the waiter or waitress. They're like, I don't really care what you want. I just want to get your order in. Person's like, well, what if I change the mushrooms for, may I have broccoli instead? And how thick is the sauce? I mean, like, the waiter's gonna be the guy to ask. He's like, well, it's somewhere between very thick and not thick.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who won't say, can I have this pizza, for instance, but with no that, but plus this.
Oh, no.
I don't like wasting people's time.
No, who are you that you need to change the menu? And what, you have your own show on the Food Network? That you're so fucking important. Well, I'd like this, but with artichokes. Ooh, sorry, Gordon Ramsay. I didn't know you were coming to my restaurant today, Gordon Ramsay. We'll just change everything. Let me get the kitchen ready for you so you can come in and shit on them if it's if
it's not going your way.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't have exactly the right amount of lemon juice on there. It's ridiculous.
This is actually something. Why can't everyone check the menu online to decide what you want before going to a restaurant? I've started doing that too.
Have you?
Yeah, because I really just don't like wasting people's time.
Yeah, I think that's good. Leanne, at Piccolino's, they give you a menu where you choose your toppings. It's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, in that case, it's great if they're prepared to do that.
All right, let's go to Dr. Hanan because we've got lots to talk to him about this morning. And really? He's not there yet? Oh, okay. Well, will you let me know? Okay, excellent. Can I get a cheese sauce, but I'm lactose intolerant? Yeah, I mean, I always find it very funny when people, they have an allergy to something or whatever, and then they expect that the entire food industry must come up with an alternative just for them. So they still want the taste, but they don't want any of the problems that come with all of that. I really do feel for people who have very sensitive stomachs, because I obviously don't. I even if something pretty awful, what did I have in Bulgaria that I didn't like at all? Thank God I didn't have like a lot of it, but there was this rice with these little things in it, and I thought, that's probably like, I don't know, bits of olive or whatever.
Yeah.
It was liver.
Oh no, I felt instantly nauseous.
And even then, I mean, like, I think my stomach is a concrete mixer. I was fine. But it was not very good. Didn't taste very nice. I needed to wash that away with whatever I could find. Something very alcoholic and very strong. But I also feel for those people who have like, what is it, IBS?
Yes,
irritable bowel syndrome. Because that is, I mean, first of all, terribly embarrassing. Constantly need the loo, right? And then anything they put in their stomach, there's a 50-50 chance that they can end up with a problem.
Yeah, and it doesn't always come out the back end, irritable bowel. It also affects the front end. And there we go, laboratorily again.
How nice. How nice. Bitcoin Butt says, what's the verdict on vegan cheese? It's an abomination.
I've never tasted it.
I haven't tried it either, so I don't know. Although, hang on, I did order something vegan the other day at some like health restaurant, and they said there was cheese in it, but they couldn't have used cheese if it was a vegan restaurant. So I didn't even notice. I only thought about it afterwards. Can we talk about the TDS with the doctor? There is a serious mental health crisis on the left. We can ask him. I mean, I would be fascinated to know if there are people actually self-reporting at the moment in the US, because we know that loads and loads of people on the left have been screaming and posting videos, and you've seen the videos of them like losing their shit over the fact that Trump is president.
Yeah.
Just having tantrums. And we played some of those on Friday, and yes, they were very, very funny. And I don't have to feel sorry for these people because I don't know them. They're not in my life. But yeah, there's a problem. And I think that mental illness is a serious, serious issue in America. And it's been attaching itself more and more to politics. You know, like if your candidate loses, that means you have a breakdown of some kind. You have some sort of mental health crisis because the person that you voted for didn't win. It actually happens.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can find out. I don't know if this is on the top of Dr. Hanan's list. He's probably got real life issues to deal with every day with his patients, but we can ask him. So you could always throw your questions this way. Just let us know in the comment section. All right, let's go to Dr. Hanan on a Monday morning. This is always a good time for us to get our mental health in check. And because he has so many things that he can answer on all kinds of levels. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Are we going with a moustache here? What's happening?
Movember. Yeah, Movember. Listen, I try growing patches. That's not my strong point.
No. Well, I mean, you want to see what I'll look like at the end of November? What you'll
just
say?
Look the same.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic. Anyway, so I think you're still doing better than me. But yeah, okay, let's talk about this because it came up in the comment section already. In America, and I'm sure you've been paying attention to what's been going on in American politics, because who doesn't? It's part of our universe, right? And it has a trickle-down effect on everything. But I see all these people losing it on social media. I see a lot of people having tantrums. They're not coping very well. Tears streaming down their faces. They're screaming into the sky. Surely this is an indication that these people are not well. Because as much as I've been upset by things that happen politically, and I do, maybe more than most, I take seriously what goes on in international relations and in the global, kind of political milieu. But I don't let it upset me.
Well, I mean, you look at sport. It happens in sport too.
It happens with sport too. Is this an issue? Should we be paying attention to this?
So let's define trauma. Well, the trauma is obviously we are born into this world blank slates. We don't know how the world works, and we develop models of how the world works, and we develop these models help us predict what's going to come up next. And the moment the world presents something different to our prediction, our brains don't like it. Our brains rebel against it. They resist against that. And that's a definition of trauma. And hence, everybody will at some point go through a traumatic event where they expect something to happen and it just doesn't. They predict the world to work in a particular way and it just doesn't. So from sports, I predict my team will win and they don't. From in politics, I predict my candidate will win, but they don't. I predict that a certain law will come into effect, but it doesn't. And that creates a sense of trauma, which is normal. It happens to everybody. Suffering is when I don't accept the new reality, when I stay stuck in the middle. So I stay stuck between what I wanted it to be and in between what it actually is. So where I'm stuck in the middle is where the distance between what I expected versus what it actually is. So, and that's up to us. The trauma is not up to us. That's life. Life will present unexpectancies, and life will present uncertainties, and life will present things that we don't want to happen, but they have. But that's not up to us. What is up to us is whether we move forward and we accept the new reality. So should we be paying attention to trauma? Well, yes, but no, but yes, but no, that's life. But should we be paying attention to how we deal with it and whether we move forward or stay stuck? That's completely under our control, and we should be.
All right. Well, it would be a waste of us to not use your expertise. And since you've already brought this up, it relates very well to what Leanne's been dealing with. You know, she lost her dad a couple of days ago. And obviously there are things that happen in that cycle of kind of grief and having to deal with losing someone very important in your life. What are those stages like now, and kind of where can she expect to be finding herself next in terms of her emotions? You know, because she's got to get back to work today.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks now. So
yeah, so there's a tough stage, right?
Yeah. So first of all, sorry, Leanne. Loss is never easy, and psychologists refer to the stages of grief or the stages of loss, which is shock, denial, there's guilt, bargaining, anger, depression, and then finally acceptance. But I don't subscribe to that model because, Leanne, as you would have experienced, you can go through all those 7 stages in 1 minute.
Yes,
you can go from
absolutely.
Acceptance to denial, to shock, to acceptance, to I'm fine, to I'm not fine, literally in a minute.
Yeah.
But eventually, when you marry the reality of what it is, then the vacillation between these 7 stages just stabilize, and eventually you sit in a comfortable spot in acceptance. When we go through loss, it changes who we are. Leanne, so you would have naturally have experienced this literally that morning, or I'm sorry, I don't know when that happened, but the moment it happened, your world changed. Suddenly, your world went from blue to green, or from a particular model to a brand new, and you've changed as well. Suddenly, things that we think are funny are no longer funny. Suddenly things that we thought were serious are suddenly funny to us. Our interests change, the way we engage the world change. We become a little bit more jaded, maybe even more cynical. So we don't stay the same. And the real healing happens when we eventually learn to accept and marry our new reality and the new version of ourselves in this reality. Because loss is when our world changes, a piece of us goes missing, it's no longer there, and our brain is not willing to accept it. Our brain wants to go back to an old world which was familiar to us. And acceptance is finally the realization that it is what it is, and I've got to play within this new world with this new framework that I have. And the only way to finally accept the new world is to immerse yourself in the new world. So, Leanne, for you to be going back to work, engaging with your family, engaging with your friends, really going back to life, because acceptance is not an intellectual pursuit, it's an experiential pursuit. In other words, you've got to live out the reality of what it is, and eventually your brain adjusts and lives and marries acceptance.
That sounds very true to what you say about doing before even thinking about it. And that's kind of the stage where we as a family are at now. You don't have a choice, really. You need to get up and you need to do work or function normally. But I think, and the other thing that's kind of taken the focus off of myself losing my father has been my mom losing her husband, her soulmate, and looking after her because of that. And she 100% goes through all of those phases of grief in one day, from picking up the phone saying, I don't think I'll join you for lunch today, to phoning me 2 minutes later, actually, I will. But you've just got to kind of take every opportunity to be with other people, because being alone can be hard, but allow yourself then that time to be alone, and not so that you don't feel guilty about not thinking about it all day.
Yeah. It's like, I give the analogy, when we go through a loss, it's like the universe giving us a 20-kilogram sack of potatoes to carry for the rest of our lives. And it's very difficult, and we don't have the opportunity to put it down. You just learn to carry it differently. There's no healing in the sense of going back to the way that we were. Healing, as I said, is the marrying the reality of the new version of ourselves. But again, the only way is to get your mom out, to get your mom to not go internal, to go, not go into your head, because the healing doesn't happen when we make sense of it, because there's no making sense of loss.
No.
There's no making sense of grief. 1 + 1 does not equal 2, and it never will in your head. The only way that it will ever make sense is in retrospect, when we look back at it after we've healed. Things make sense when we look in the rearview mirror. In other words, when we move forward and we create a life for ourselves, and we get your mom out and mom to engage and mom to create a new sense of purpose and fall in love with different things and fall in love with different people. And I'm not saying getting into a new relationship, but fall in love with being a mom and fall in love with, being a sister, and fall in love with, maybe a certain art or creative pursuits, or fall in love with a new passion. And as she moves forward, and by the way, she must take her time. There's no race here. She doesn't have to do it within a day or within a week or within a month or within a year. Some people, it takes them a lifetime to pursue that particular goal and to fall in love with something else or something in addition. And there's no race. Nobody's in a rush. But as she moves forward and falls in love with different things and rediscovers herself in a new way, then she can look back and go, okay, I can make sense of the loss. It makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
But right now, there's no making sense. And that's why you should never get into your head, certainly not when you're going through this kind of grief.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful.
Also, I mean, to go back to the people who are losing their shit on social media, I'm sure that you're going to be on my side on this one, Doc, but it's probably not a great idea to be filming yourself having a tantrum. It's probably not a great idea to show the whole world, no matter how much of an attention seeker you might be, how deranged you are. Rather, like at this point, your phone might be better served being off, and you have real world connections and you rely on those people and you have conversations with them. If you're not coping with stuff, whether it's a serious thing like Leanne has gone through with losing her dad, or if it's a stupid thing like you can't handle the fact that Trump is your president, sitting with people you care about and talking to them and, being around actual people is probably much better than people laughing at you on X.
Opening yourself up to a whole
maybe
community.
You can even help me understand, why would people do that? Why would people share things like that online?
Yeah, I think maybe from a number of reasons. One is virtual signaling, like I'm part of a community and I'm going to lead this fight. I'm going to die on this sword. Another one, people looking for some form of feedback or acknowledgement for the way that they feel. They're looking for some form of calibration by other people telling them that they're okay and everything's going to be okay. We'll carry you. You're part of our group, or you're the leader of our group. But it's not helpful. If you want to truly heal, you lean on the closest people to you to help you progress and move forward, to deal with what it is as opposed to marry what it was. Again, we don't want to get stuck with the fantasy of how we wish it was, because that's suffering. We want to marry the reality of what it is.
Right. Okay, very good. Well, thanks, Doc. Always good to check in with you, and we will speak to you in a week's time. All right.
I look forward to it. Bye, guys.
Excellent. Dr. Hanan, and our little mental health checkup on a Monday. It's useful occasionally having him around.
Jeez, today especially.
Get like a free session.
Glad I came.
Yeah. So it wasn't a total waste of your time. No, it is. It's fun to joke and talk about all the stupid stuff that we do, but it's also nice to have actual advice on how you can deal with real life situations. And as he says, do stuff, get busy. You're not going to get better in this world if you sit in your bed and cry. Horrible and tempting at the same time. As
reserve time for that. Allow it, sure. But it can't take over your life.
No, 100%. Okay, we'll be back in a moment or two. This is the Gareth Cliff Show on the Real Network, Monday morning. We're in the middle of November already. Dun, dun, dun.
I'm going to tell you guys a story about a patient of mine. This guy happens to be an IV drug user. Right? He uses heroin. And this guy came prepared, a shoelace in his bag as a tourniquet that he would use as a tourniquet to get his veins, right? And I was failing. I just could not get a vein. This guy was like, nah, let me show you.
That's what they always, that's what they always do.
He pulls this thing out, went tight, like I've never seen an arm go that tight. His arm was swelling up. Managed to find one vein. I want you to look. these veins here, visiting hours come. It's 3 p.m. This guy says, Doc, I just want to go outside to smoke. Does he not go outside with his friend who came to visit him, who he said was his brother?
To inject.
Brought him heroin to the hospital. Shoots up in the same drip that I put in for him. Comes back to the ward high out of his mind.
He's like, I got the drip, I'm ready. Yeah.
I'm ready.
Now, what do you guys know about NASCAR?
It goes round and round in circles.
Correct. That's pretty much the first rule of NASCAR.
And if you don't chew Big Red, then...
So NASCAR literally is, it's oval circuits.
I think that's the main thing, is like, let's just go show so see how many Bud Lights we can drink before we drive home. Yeah. And then go to church on Sunday.
Sometimes consistency is the best play, huh?
Gareth Cliff Show, The Real Network, Monday. What is today? It's the 11th. 11th of the 11th. Oh, it's Armistice Day.
Oh, that's
right. So it's actually, it's the day, Remembrance Day, some people call it. Armistice Day on the 11th of November, 1914 at 11 o'clock in the morning. World War I came to an end.
So it's a happy day.
It's a happy day. I played that clip a while ago, which someone reminded me of, where you can actually hear the sound of the guns firing. Then it turns to 11, the guns go silent, and there's absolute silence for a little bit, a couple of seconds, and then very quietly you hear the birds starting to chirp again in the background.
Wow.
It's one of the most haunting things I've ever heard.
Sure.
1918, sorry, I said 18 was when they called an end to World War I. And since then, it's been called Poppy Day or Remembrance Day. It's the day that people wear a little red poppy, and you remember the fallen of the two major world wars. And there are a lot of those.
Observed by Belgium, France, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Serbia, Romania, and Bulgaria, and many other countries. Not a public holiday for us, though.
No, not a public holiday. No. We carry on. People have got to get on with things. You can't have another day after a Sunday. What a waste. I never really know what to do with Sundays. I mean, usually they're just recharge days for most people. It's a day to kind of get your battery back up and running. And
yeah, it depends on. Some people run around on a Saturday and do absolutely everything they need to do for the week ahead so that they can relax on the Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do all the stuff I need to get ready for on a Sunday. So I'll go put in petrol, have my car cleaned.
Oh wow, okay, you're very organized.
Shopping,
so in some ways,
prepping.
it's like your first day of the week.
It feels like it, yeah.
Right. Well, they celebrated all the Remembrance Day stuff over the weekend in Europe, and it is a big deal. Here's Cully, who says, my gran lived during the First and Second World War. Apparently, the mayor of Cape Town found a World War II veteran and they laid a wreath at some memorial, which is quite nice. I think it's good that we acknowledge the fact that many South Africans were involved in both of those wars, and many of them we lost in those wars. So we should really make a little bit of a fuss of it. And if that is what the mayor of Cape Town has done, good for him. It's certainly as important as many of the other things that we acknowledge in South Africa, that we have memorials to, so it's something worth thinking about. Thankfully, Trump will de-escalate things now, says Grant. We were genuinely heading toward World War III. I don't know, but it does seem like a lot of world leaders are suddenly going, let's get on the phone to this guy. Let's start just picking how we're going to present ourselves to the United States under Donald Trump. I don't think anyone's talking to Biden, shame. And by the way, the other person who's not going to be talking to anyone is Kamala Harris. Forget about her ever being important again. Like, someone who will go from absolute hero to zero is her. I mean, for the next 6 weeks, if you need her to come to a car wash where you've, you're giving away, you're giving away ice creams for every third car that you want, she'll come and do it. She's got nothing else to do. She's got nothing else to do.
That must be like there must be like a period of mourning after something like that happens in your life and your career.
Yeah, there's a bit of grief
when you've given up everything for that.
Congo Chris says, I always use Armistice Day to remember my grandfather. He fought in Egypt and Italy as part of the Commonwealth forces. We had an assembly at school once around Armistice Day. And it was amazing to me. Most people didn't know what it was. And I remember there was an occasion somewhere where people were allowed to wear their grandparents' medals, had they received any during the wars. And it was interesting to see how many people actually had them and wore them in honor of their grandparents. So yeah, I think there are lots of people connected to this stuff. The next potential South African president will go to KFC and hand out chicken for free. Some campaigns are different, the same campaign, different location. Yeah. I feel like Kamala's relieved now, says that Don Kitty. That's how I felt when I saw her giving that concession speech. I thought, this is a person who's just been released from a thing that she really was not enjoying. I mean, it must be such pressure.
Oh, massive. Huh? The most in the world.
Especially on her, because she wasn't winning. It just wasn't working for her. So she must be so pleased it's done. Unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by what has been. So we don't have to hear that voice ever again for a long time. I've got a story for you that you'll like, Leanne Mole.
Oh, yeah.
Now, listen to this. This is quite fun. So apparently they're selling an AI artwork of Alan Turing for $1 million. It's called AI God. It's written by AI-Da Robot.
Da Robots.
A humanoid robot artist, sold for $1,084,800. How's that for an AI generated artwork?
Wait,
look at this.
Who's the person?
There it is. AI-Da Robot.
No, the subject.
Oh, it's Alan Turing.
What?
Alan Turing, you know who he is, right?
Why am I having to
Prominent
Google him?
World War II code breaker, pioneer of computer science.
Yes.
Father of artificial intelligence.
Cryptanalyst.
Yeah, he helped crack the code on the Enigma machine, among other things.
There you go.
So that links to our discussion of Armistice Day.
Right.
But anyway, that doesn't look like him to me.
Yeah, let's take that again.
I mean,
it's very it's a bit,
would you want
bit
that?
of Picasso.
Would you put that in your house? Nah.
Yeah, I don't think AI did very well.
That's pretty fucking ugly, actually. And it's got like an eye in the forehead there. I don't know if I like this.
Or a bullet hole.
I don't like this.
It looks like an
anyway
ear over the eye, but it's also an eye.
Apparently, this is a historic moment in the intersection of AI technology and the art market, raising conversations about the ethical implications of AI in art. Okay, so let's just get this right out there in the beginning. I don't mind if machines are making art. And you get lots of people who are generating these things. In fact, a friend of mine was saying the other day that he has developed album art for all of his playlists using AI. It's all the playlists on his on his phone of all the songs that he likes. He's got individual playlist album art that he's made using AI, and it looks pretty good to me. I don't think this is a problem.
No,
Most
not
artists,
at all.
listen, a lot of artists are taking the piss anyway. Let me show you what James. Let me show you. James tried to sell this to me as art. Look at this. This is what James thinks this is art. All right, he did this.
That's
what he thinks is art.
It's a bit of a chessboard, isn't it?
Not even a chessboard, because it doesn't have 8 along the sides. So,
and there are things falling off of it too.
And stuff's coming off of it. I mean, this is an absolute disaster. And James thinks that's art. Now, if he thinks that's art, then let a machine come up with something better. Because anything's better than that.
Yeah, that art we saw just now is better than that.
Right? I mean, this is a piece of shit. This is James's best work.
Did he make it?
Yeah, he made that. It's crap. I mean, it's like, what is it? It looks like a cutting board.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies because
it's terrible.
It needs to end. It needs a board. It needs another row.
It's just so embarrassing. Anyway, James, I don't think you should be very proud of that. Do you want to come and do the sport? Yeah, come and do that. You're better at that than anything else. AI duh. Okay, so it's AI duh robot, but it could be AIDA. I'm not sure. It's one of those. Like Elon's children. You're not sure how to pronounce their name. So anyway, apparently this thing churned out 15 paintings of Turing. Each took up 8 hours. And the best one they came up with was that one that we saw earlier. I don't know. I mean, you should be embarrassed about this.
That's my life's greatest work. I don't know what you mean.
I think it's revolting.
Did you really make this?
No, you did. Yeah.
But what?
What's your next question?
What's its purpose?
It's called interpretational art.
Oh,
so
God.
You can interpret.
Did you
what
decide on these cutouts?
I did, yeah.
And these at the bottom,
yeah. And
what do you interpret these as?
Well, that's the thing. Whoever picks it up can interpret what they want to do with it.
Were these earrings at the bottom?
What a steaming pile of shit. Really? James.
What made you decide on how many rows and columns you would have, and why you would stop where you did?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is my favorite number. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is just a nice round number.
Okay, should we have some sport?
What a crap fucking painting, James. Go to the sport. Come on, get on with it. What happened over the weekend?
Okay, in the world of sports, there was some football this weekend. City lost, which is always great news for Liverpool fans. They lost 2-1.
Look at this shit, Leanne.
I can't stop thinking about it.
Oh, you call that art?
I do, don't you?
No. I'm saying we almost started a TV show called "You Call That Art."
Oh,
I had a friend of mine, and we were very seriously pitching a reality TV show at one point, and we flew to Venice to talk to a guy called Francois Pinault, not Francois Pinard. Francois Pinault, who is the guy who owns LMVH and all of that stuff, like a very, very powerful and prominent businessman, a multi-billionaire in dollars. And he has this gallery in Venice. So that's where we met him. And the show was going to be called You Call That Art. And it would effectively have been a show where people paint, sculpt, draw. They could do performative art, which would be terrifying because most of that is shit. And all sorts of interpretive stuff too. And then the show would own the artworks and sell them for charity afterwards. But the public would vote to determine whether something was art or not. And people would take something like James's painting here, and they'd go, yes, that is art. And then it would pass muster, and it would go into a gallery, or it would be sold for charity, or someone would put it on their wall. And then some of the stuff people would go, no, that's not art. That's absolute shit. and would be thrown on the trash heap.
Put that on their wall.
You think a lot of people put that on their wall?
A lot of people.
Hold it up, Leanne. Let's show it off some more.
I have to. I don't even know. So you can hold it any way you like. So let's say it's like that. Yeah, maybe it's meant to be.
All
like
right.
that.
Well, all right. Next, go on. Get to the sport. This is enough on your stupid art.
Right. So there was football this weekend. City did end up losing 2-1. We love it. Liverpool won 2-0 against Aston Villa. Top of the log by 5 points.
Yeah.
Man United, they did a winning thing ahead of the international break. 3-0 to Leicester. Nottingham Forest, they lost to Newcastle. And then Chelsea and Arsenal, they drew 1-1. No huge surprises this weekend in the world of football. In the Carling Black Label knockout, Sundowns beat Gallants 2-0. And Maghesi beat Richards Bay 1-0, which means the final will be between those two teams in about 2 weeks' time. And then in the world of rugby, the Box played. Guys, great news. The Box are now number 1 in the world rankings. We love that.
Oh, that's good. They played last night. Scotland.
They played Scotland.
Yeah.
They beat them 32-15. Ireland also played, former world number 1s. They played New Zealand this weekend. They lost 13-23. England beat Australia 37-42. It's the other way around. Australia actually beat them because that's the higher number. Australia won 42-37. Argentina beat Italy 50-18, and that was pretty much. Oh, and the Proteas beat India.
Oh, the Proteas beat. Yeah, nobody's used those words in that order for a long time.
I know. I hadn't heard of Ben.
Say it again.
I was quite worried. The Proteas beat India.
I saw a little bit of that yesterday.
I think Ben may have had like some kind of heart attack. I haven't heard.
All right. I want to give you some feedback on your art. So Tabo says your art is great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congo Chris says it's not your best work, James, but don't let the mean comments discourage you.
If I sit next to Leanne, it's like bring your art to
Wen
school.
says it's a Domino's pizza box. Not very exciting. James, that's as useful as Anne Frank's drum set, says Carl dos Santos. Bitcoin Bud says, must be some my bosses are doing a secret message in that piece of art, James. James, forget the sport. Tell us what your creative process was, says that Don Kitty.
Sure.
James must stick to dirtying his vehicle, says someone else. This fucking generation, says Max. Just nothing but that.
Generation.
Leave James alone, says Polyfiller. Dirk says AI will be more intelligent than the average human. James just proved this point. Okay.
It's not even interesting in texture.
Come on, Leanne, give me a break. I tried.
Congo Chris says, James, you've ruined your mother's cutting board. Marco says, stop that nonsense. This is unbelievable. So many rude comments here. It's times like these I'm glad Gareth and Leanne don't have kids. Imagine little Johnny bringing him his ashtray that he made for mommy or daddy and the two of them were there. Yeah. Carl says I wouldn't use that to cover my DB board behind my kitchen door.
No, a DB board. Now that's art. You know, you get some beautiful DB boards if you admire electricians because they're handiwork.
How tidy they are.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
now that is interesting.
This would make a good door to a DB board, I think.
No.
Monet says, can we auction it for charity on this show? No, I wouldn't want to do that because the charity itself would. I think they'd be very
offended.
Yeah.
We could.
It's actually offensive if you think that's art.
What this?
It's offensive that you think that's art.
I think it's provocative then, which makes it even more art.
Ooh, is it political?
No, I just meant thought provocative. It provokes.
Oh, I thought
emotion
you were saying. Yeah, I mean, it can't even be used as a chessboard or a cutting board, really. But there it is. At least James brought his art into school today. So we could all have something to say about it. Flex, what do you reckon out of 10? 0 out of 10. No one's impressed with this. James, is it a reflection of your checkered past, says Proper Gender. Yeah, I don't know. All right, go. I'm
leaving with my art.
Yes, go. Take it with you. How embarrassing. Bye. At least it has a handle. Most art you have to pick up. You know,
you're very right.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it.
That's the thing that, out of all the things, that's the one that we must remember. It's got a handle.
It makes you want to put your hand in it. You know, it's a handle. It's very clever.
Oh, is it very clever now?
That part.
Okay. All right. Very good. So there are a couple other stories in the news that are worthy of our attention this morning. Well, I hope it's worthy of your attention. Apparently, over the past 15 years, this is quite scary, several prominent car brands, including Cadillac, Datsun, Dodge, Chrysler, Chevrolet, Daihatsu, Saab, have all left South Africa. They're no longer available here.
Wow.
South African automotive industry.
Say them again, now that we know.
So Cadillac.
Yeah.
Don't see many of those.
I don't see, yeah.
I mean, there's still some, but there are no new ones being sold.
Yeah.
Datsun. I know you were a big Datsun fan once.
In the 80s, maybe, of a brown Datsun. With that, like, bubble back.
A brown.
Datsun, yeah.
Brown one.
I haven't seen any new ones.
A Dodge.
Yeah. American
I've seen a few of those, but not a lot. Chrysler. Chevrolet.
Chevy.
Daihatsu.
Daihatsu.
No, that's Japanese, right?
Yeah, it is.
Daihatsu. But they make little cars, don't they?
I think so.
Small, tiny cars for tiny little people. No? I don't remember. Anyway, Daihatsu, Saab, and Seat.
Okay.
So
yeah, to be honest, I spend a lot of time in traffic.
Yeah, I'm
every
not really
day.
sad about all those cars going away.
No.
There's not one of those that I'm like, oh no.
No, exactly.
Not that one.
Only the Datsun, but the 1972 Datsun.
That was brown.
That was brown.
Otherwise, it would have been good. You only want a brown one of those. Okay, so apparently the South African automotive industry, and this is why I wanted to have George here to talk about this with us, but he couldn't make it. He cancelled last night. He's got some important work thing on.
It's okay. We'll just make it up.
Yeah, we'll make it up. Exactly. This is what happens when Borge isn't here. So the South African automotive industry contributes 4.3% to the GDP. Seen some strong investments from BMW, Ford, Toyota. They've capitalized on local production, okay? But consumer loyalty towards established brands coupled with economic challenges has made it difficult for new entrants to succeed in our market. Specific brands like Saab and Cadillac struggled to compete against established luxury brands and ultimately withdrew due to weak sales. So
there are a few new car brands as well that I'm seeing popping up that I haven't seen before. And you wonder how long they'll last. But so it's because South Africans are stubborn and we're set in their ways.
We also we've got loyalty to other brands, right? And apparently Seat, I've
seen those before.
You have?
Yeah.
Does it have 4 or 3 wheels?
It's got one on the top and one at the bottom.
Okay, so Seat apparently exited after failing to rival models from Volkswagen, its parent company. Daihatsu and Chevrolet withdrew due to poor performance and strategic shifts, focusing elsewhere. Sounds like an excuse to me.
Yeah.
And then Chinese manufacturers have gained traction, offering a range of affordable models that are expected to capture around 20% of the new car market by 2024. So the Chinese are the only ones who seem to have their finger on the pulse. That's because they probably know how to price them.
What's that new? There's something new called Jetour or something. And then there's also JAC something.
Really?
Yeah, I'm seeing these new.
I think you're making it up. I think Leanne is having a bit of a moment on the show. You're making up car names. A what?
Explore new
Jayco.
Jetour, JETOUR models.
Oh, okay. Are you sure it's a car?
100%. I've driven past 2 factories, 2 Jetour, not
give
factories.
Me that phone. Let me just give me. It says here, Jetour is a kind of tampon. You see, you've got it completely wrong. It's not a car
it's
at
a
all.
Car.
She can't even read.
Choose adventure.
Are your glasses working?
You get the dashing with Vanguard tech. It's a Vanguard technology.
Oh, right.
SUV.
The Vanguard technology. Now I'm convinced.
The newly appointed Jetour South Africa vice president highlights the brand's commitment to delivering blah, blah, blah. There's a vice president. It's a leading Chinese automotive brand entering the South African market.
Yeah, and you're making it up.
I told you we were going to make it up.
You did actually. So that's all. The last 5 minutes were all total nonsense. It's because we don't have George Meany here from Auto Trader to help us understand.
Watch Jetour get sponsor me a car. That'll be fun.
talk about them again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were just saying earlier how celebrity endorsements are worthless.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So don't bother with that shit. All right. A couple of other stories going on in the news. I see Tyler was at the MTV EMAs. She's looking very good. And I don't know if she won or not, but I'm very proud of her for being there. Elon Musk is tweeting up a storm about the elections. Says the real loser was not the puppet, but the big government machine behind the puppet, because in Washington, D.C., Kamala Harris got 92.4% of the vote. Donald Trump got 6.7%.
And then there's also that thing where your votes count more. Apparently in Pennsylvania, that's the state where...
It's a swing state.
Yes, it's a swing state.
That was the one that had a lot to do with deciding who would actually win in the yeah. I mean, your vote doesn't count for more. It's still one vote. But that state is very, very important because it goes either way. And whichever way it goes is usually the way the president ends up being elected. But it is strange to me. Like, I do find it weird how people get really, really emotionally involved in stuff like elections. And I mean, I'd rather get involved emotionally in that than I would in sports games. But you mentioned sports games earlier. And people do. They find reasons to get really, really excited about things. And obviously, if their team loses, they get very, very sad.
Yeah.
I saw some hilarious videos this weekend of people just losing it. And now everybody's sending me these things as well. So it's like I've got a million to choose from. But I do think with some of these people, it's touch and go that they're not completely lunatic. I mean, you can see that some of them are probably not coping. We played a video last week of a girl shaving off her hair while saying,
yes,
this is to punish men. And I mean, I don't think any men were like, gathering around the block to be with her, but she was going to punish all men in America for voting for Donald Trump by shaving her hair.
Completely irrational behavior.
Totally weird. No, bizarre. And then I saw lots of people on American television who also just, they don't make sense anymore. People like Joy Reid, who is on MSNBC, and she's like, well, I'm going to blame Hispanic men and white suburban women because they didn't vote for Kamala. So you guys are the bad guys. Like, how are you going to make things better by blaming those population groups? Surely this is just going to cause more polarity, more division. And this is a person on TV. The reason I started laughing just now is this is a picture of different strokes, but everybody's face is pulling it.
So Different Strokes was that show.
Can you get into that?
In the 90s, early 90s, I'd say, late 80s. Different Strokes.
But everyone's face is going.
Yeah, they've all got
different
sides of their faces have been affected by these strokes.
All right. Well, what was on your agenda for the morning? Leanne brought a whole lot of stuff that she wanted to talk to us about today.
I did too.
See, we've been missing this. This is the only way we get informed, Leanne, is when you're here.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
We were talking about weird foods and insects and things. And all around the world, they've found these insects that can eat through plastic.
I don't like the sound of this. There were flying ants this weekend. Did you have some?
No.
Because flying ants are a big thing. Someone was saying
apparently
to me,
they taste like peanut butter.
Yes, someone said that they taste
cats love them.
Yes, the animals will eat them. I'm just not interested. Anytime anyone proposes that I eat insects, I'm like, no, thank you very much.
Well,
I'm not falling for that crap. But these things,
they actually eat through plastic and destroy it. So they've been found all over the world in various forms, and we haven't had anything in Africa yet.
Okay, but hang
on.
So
now we've got...
All right. I don't dislike the idea that they can break down plastic. Okay, but I really dislike the idea that they can eat through plastic that we would use to store food in.
Well, you've got to keep them isolated to
keep them
certain place.
Yeah, don't let them into the general...
No, if your house is digitally printed with plastic,
That's a very
It's not
bad
a good
idea.
idea to
Don't
have
let them
these
in.
pets as
What
well.
are they? They look like mealworms.
They are native, firstly, to Kenya. So what they've got is, okay, let me just try and find out.
They eat plastic.
The lesser mealworm, that's right, is the larval form of the Alphatobius darkling beetle.
Oh, well, of course, I knew that as well.
Mostly found in poultry rearing houses, which are warm and can offer constant food supply. So they did a test where they took a whole lot of these worms and gave them just the plastic.
They look revolting.
They did a test where they gave the worms plastic and nutritious food.
Right.
And they did it with just nutritious food. And the ones that actually thrived the most were the ones with a mixture of polystyrene specifically. Polystyrene is very, very difficult to break down. And they, by eating the plastic, develop certain enzymes that can destroy the polystyrene.
So have you ever watched these videos on, Twitter, TikTok, wherever, where they show you an orange, for example, and the mealworms just destroy the orange?
Yeah.
Like they eat it. They absolutely break down
everything. They show you like
everything.
a time lapse.
The little piece of wood that is at the end that would have been connected to the twig that it was growing on, the skin, the inside of it, they just demolish everything. These mealworms, I mean, they look like just ordinary like garden worms. You saw them there, but these things can destroy anything. And they have these time-lapse videos where you actually see them. You could throw anything in there and they'll eat it. So now we've got ones that can eat plastic. As you said earlier, you've got to keep them separate from the rest of them. You let that into someone's house. I mean, look at how much stuff we have that's plastic.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, probably the sole of the shoe is not, it's probably plastic. So they'd eat that if they ended up in my cupboard.
I don't know what
Your
these
glasses,
are, but maybe my
right?
glasses frames.
No, it's like acetate or something.
These
that would be,
my boobs are real, so it wouldn't be those.
Those are real, thank God. But I mean, for a woman who goes to sleep at night who just had a boob operation, she's really pleased with her, like,
imagine waking up.
A to C upgrade, and then suddenly the fucking mealworms are all over her. That would be horrific, right? Think about how much plastic we've got around us.
Yeah, plastic surrounds all of our electricity.
Correct. All the
cords,
cables.
The plugs.
Imagine we let these mealworms in there and they start eating the plastic around our cables. All of our plumbing, our pipes are now mostly plastic. You've got to be very careful. You let the mealworms at that. So please, let's just be very sensible about where we deploy these mealworms. Okay?
They must be far away, and then we'll send our plastic to them.
Yeah. Next thing they'll
creating
be eating,
a carbon footprint.
Next thing they'll be eating metal, because they do seem like they could eat anything.
And maybe they'd evolve to eat metal, but we don't want that.
I'm really into the mealworm time-lapse videos, the hydraulic press videos, which,
yes,
I saw the most brilliant hydraulic press video the other day. They took a mold, obviously, of a cup, right? So they would press whatever it is into the shape of a cup. Obviously use this to manufacture mugs and so on. Anyway, they took coffee and they compressed at such high pressures a coffee cup mold. So the actual cup is made of coffee.
Like coffee beans.
Yeah, no, the ground coffee that they've made from beans, but it's a solid pneumatic press coffee mug.
It's a cup of coffee.
Right? So this would be made of coffee.
A cup of
and
coffee.
Then they pour coffee in it, and obviously the coffee dissolves the other coffee in the mug, and then it leaks out. But can you imagine if you could make it really, really cold, because then it would take longer for it to melt through. Maybe even put a layer of something on the inside that takes a while for it to melt. And you do like hot chocolate in a coffee-made coffee cup. Huh?
Sounds good.
I think you could sell these things.
Yeah.
Or maybe a shot. You're like,
you
do it in a thin little
there is
coffee.
Something with,
that would be cool, right?
There is something where the shell is made of chocolate.
Well, they're always trying to come up with new ideas of like stuff to sell people. And coffee fanatics would love this stuff.
But those compression videos.
Yeah, hydraulic presses.
They sometimes put those, those little plastic balls.
Yeah.
And I saw something similar over the weekend where they started off with that, and it cuts straight away to an actual video from a vet, for dogs in the US, where this dog had eaten a whole bag of those little balls.
Oh.
And he was basically going into the poop position, and just millions of these balls were falling out of his bum. They were all over the practice. Everyone was like, just bouncing out.
That's just great. How revolting.
They had to remove the rest by surgery, but he did quite a good job.
You're telling me these mealworms can now, these are the solution.
The best is they found something in Africa that works, because for us to have sent our plastic overseas, or their insects to come here where they don't thrive, would have been a problem.
But great. These are the ultimate solutions to our climate change problems, the ultimate issues to all these environmental problems that we've got all over the world. We've got the solutions already. And
We've been having it.
We've been having it here in Africa. Kenya, thank you for leading the way. Okay, but for God's sake, let's keep these plastic-eating mealworms in a certain place. You can't have them just running amok.
Absolutely.
Okay? Very, very good.
All
right, so here's something else that Leanne wants to tell us about this morning, is ostriches, and do they really bury their heads in the sand? Now, we've heard this a million times. People go, don't be like an ostrich, you bury your head in the sand. If someone says, I don't watch the news, or I don't really care about politics, or I don't know what the latest music is because I only listen to the music that I used to listen to when I was 20. So you get people who say they're not paying attention. They're going to put their head in the sand.
Yeah.
Do ostriches actually do that?
Have you ever seen an ostrich do that?
No, of course not.
I mean, we don't have them running around readily available for us to observe like we do our pets. But, we've seen them. We've seen them in Oosthuizen.
Sure.
And the idea is that if they feel threatened, they'll put their head under the sand. And would you have maybe told your nephew something like that?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard people use the term, don't be like an ostrich putting your head in the sand. But I've never really thought if it's an actual thing.
So for centuries now, people have said that ostriches really do bury their heads in the sand.
Yeah.
They claim that when they were faced with danger, it's this struthio species, which is because in Italian ostrich is a struzio, I think.
Right.
But apparently it's absolutely not true.
No.
The belief was created by the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder.
Pliny. Yeah.
Pliny the Elder.
Well, he was very uptight about it. You have to say Pliny. He didn't like Pliny. Yeah.
Known as Gaius Plinius Secundus.
Gaius Plinius Secundus.
Wow, look at that. So he completed one of the earliest collections of encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And in book 10 of the Natural History, he describes an ostrich hiding its head in the bushes to appear invisible.
Do you know that Pliny the Younger, the same guy you're talking about, wrote the best eyewitness account of the eruption of Vesuvius?
This is Pliny the Elder, though.
That was his uncle.
Okay.
No, really, that was his uncle. Pliny the Younger wrote the most brilliant eyewitness account of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in about 70 AD. And he was part of his uncle went out on a boat to try and rescue people who were in the Bay of Naples and who were being covered with ash and were likely to have drowned. I mean, a lot of people did get away. We obviously know, thanks to Pompeii and Herculaneum, that there are many people covered in ash that they are now essentially petrified for all time. And
people are still discovering more about them as time passes.
Absolutely. And because of the ash that landed on the little village of Pompeii, we're able to now see things about the way Romans lived in those days that we otherwise would never have known. The mosaics on the walls, the things that people were doing. It's the most fascinating place to go and see. But Pliny the Younger is the one who wrote the best eyewitness account of that. And Pliny the Elder wrote a set of encyclopedias.
Right.
The first ones. He wanted to codify and make sense of all the knowledge of the earth, which
that's very admirable.
It's quite a life's work, that,
Yes.
Very ambitious.
So apparently, it's all because of an illusion. So ostriches.
Right. Ostriches. Okay, so we're back on ostrich. After my diversion into Pompeii, let's go back to ostriches.
Ostriches tend to dig a bit of a pit in the sand when they lay their eggs in there.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you would walk past, I suppose in his day, an ostrich, and you would see its head looking like from the side that it was bearing its head, but it's usually the mother and the father tending to the eggs.
Okay, but he just wasn't paying careful enough
attention. He just presumed, yeah. He did his best. Maybe he was too scared to go up too close.
Why are you gays?
Why are you gays?
Beautiful.
So no, they don't. They're either eating something or tending to their young.
So basically, these guys just weren't looking properly.
They weren't looking properly, and for thousands and thousands of years,
this has been a thing.
We thought that it was a thing, but it's not.
Okay, well, I'll be sure not to use the old idiom then of being like an ostrich and putting your head in the sand.
And it made them look stupid.
I have used it before. I'm not going to use it anymore.
It made them look stupid, which is why I thought I'd come out and just be protective
Defend
of
the
them.
Ostriches.
Because everyone thinks, oh, look, they've covered their eyes so no one can see them. My cousin did that once as a child. She didn't like people looking at her. A bit of social issues, socialization issues. And she kept saying, she was a toddler, and she said, I want to go and get an ice cream. So we said, just go. And she said, no, people are going to look at me. Eventually she ran like this.
Covering her ears.
Putting her fingers in her ears and closing her eyes, because then they couldn't see her. And that's why they were making the ostriches look stupid by this. The fact that they had these enormous bodies sticking out above, but they just thought they were gone by hiding their heads.
All right, well, there's a long and complicated explanation for something that's clearly not true. Now, apparently, to curb the leaking of matric exam papers that have been printed by the government-approved printers, and that's going on right now as we speak, right? When do they finish their matric exams? End of this month?
Yeah.
So schools have turned to privately appointed printers. It's resulted in a whole new issue, a R1 billion bombshell. So they can't print the exam papers because in the government printers, people are stealing the exams and cheating. So they go to private companies to do this. Let me guess, they're stealing the exams and cheating.
No, that's not happening as much.
What's happening?
So there is the actual state-owned GPW is the government printing works.
Yeah.
And it was found that government was involved in stealing the papers because they owned the printing conglomerates, right?
Yeah. So someone on the inside.
Now what's happening is corruption and price gouging.
Price gouging.
Price gouging.
Okay, yes.
So according to a City Press report, only one of the 9 provinces is printing the grade 12 exam papers still with the GPW. The rest have all gone private. What's happened is that the cost of printing these papers has now gone up by 2.6 billion rand. 2.6 billion rand.
That we now have to find from somewhere that we didn't have before.
No, this is what the provinces are saying. Okay, you've made us go to private printers. They've now collated all of their spendings at these
and that's how much
designated printers. And the bill is 2.6 billion rand higher than it was before when they were using the government printers. Why? Because the provinces are not looting the money, but they're boosting the prices.
And I was going to say, I mean, I don't know how much printing you've ever done in your life, but 2.6 billion rands worth of printing. So it seems like a lot of paper and ink. You have to justify plenty of ink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think this is
the cost of printing was less than 1 billion rand when it was with the government printers.
Right.
And has now grown to a staggering 3.6 billion rand.
Hang on. 3.6 now altogether.
Yes, it increased by 2 point whatever.
Okay, guys, yes. Like I think that government just they have like a dartboard, and then obviously goes to one all the way to 20, and then they just add billion to it. So they throw a dart.
They're inflating.
Okay, we only got 6 billion. Okay, or they throw it again. It's like triple 20, like 60 billion. That's how much it's going to cost us. I can't understand how everything has to be so expensive now. You're only printing, how many matrics are there? Let's say that there are 1 million. I don't think there are. But let's say there are 1 million matrics this year. And they each have to get, I don't know, 15 exam papers, right?
So, yeah.
It just cannot be billions. It can't. Makes no sense.
The biggest, the province with the biggest discrepancy Northwest province.
You've only got like 3 matrics.
They had been spending 8 million.
I've never met never met anyone from the Northwest who has a matric. They all.
They've been spending 8 million rand to print matric exam papers. That was in 2017. After a year of printing papers at a private printer, they're spending more than 27 million. So it's gone up from 8 million rand to 27 million rand. And that's all because of price inflation.
Sure.
And looting.
I think I'm sorry. I think this is just they're taking the piss.
So
this is people stealing.
Fixing one problem with papers being leaked and creating another one with billions being stolen.
Well, Congo Chris says, did anyone else have their electricity turned off on Friday? We had 17 hours of no electricity. That happened to a friend of mine in Fourways as well. City of Joburg owes Eskom 6.3 billion rand. Again, billion. Nothing's ever 1,000, 100,000 or 1 million. It's got to be billions now.
Big problems.
Yeah, and people don't question this. I'm sorry. There's no way printing can be that expensive. Just not possible. I think this is nonsense. But what do I know? So here's a horrible story, and I don't like stories like this, but we have to pay attention to them. Apparently, a woman threw her dog from the 3rd floor at OR Tambo.
Yeah.
What the hell was this a mistake? Have we misinterpreted the story?
So they are investigating, the SPCA is investigating. She's a French woman who was at OR Tambo, and you could see her walking with her dog, kind of a small to medium-sized black dog, on the security cameras. And for no reason at all, she picked the dog up and flung it over the balcony.
Jesus.
3 stories up. The dog landed, did survive, however, had to be euthanized because of its injuries. So nobody knows what happened.
Oh my God, what a horrible story.
It's so strange.
I think that's probably would have been in the area where people welcome, like, returning sports heroes and things. You've got those 3 levels there. I can't think of another place at OR Tambo that could have happened.
Where it's still like internal. It's not an external balcony.
Oh, why does that upset me so much?
I don't know if she had a mental breakdown.
Oh man, I really don't like this story.
Yeah. But we'll see what happens with this investigation. I think they'll get a lot of support in this, the SPCA.
Yeah.
Grace de Lange is leading the investigation as the SPCA's chief operations officer. It's horrific.
Yeah, it's just there are obviously people who do terrible things. You hear about people who throw their kids off of buildings and then they throw their pets off of. It's just horrible. If you want to fling yourself over there, that's obviously a different kettle of fish, but we're not going down that road today. I just think it's an awful, awful thing to do. I mean, like, first of all, you're involving a whole lot of other people who are just there to welcome. Yeah, like there are people there to welcome their loved ones to Joburg after they've been, flying across the world or whatever. And they have to then be part of this. What an awful thing to do.
So it happened at about 3:30 a.m. on Friday.
So early in the morning.
Early in the morning, her black dog was running towards her. And as the dog reached the woman, she picked it up and callously threw it over the balcony railing. She was apparently French, but traveling from France to Brazil and had stopped in South Africa. Maybe like the time.
But it was her dog.
Yes, her dog.
See, there are a lot of things that don't add up here. I mean, if she was flying in from...
She had bought the dog a seat on the plane already.
Oh, my God.
Like, as a passenger. So it could go in the plane with her.
I don't understand.
Don't understand.
She must have had some sort of meltdown. There's no reason. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all, right? Severely sleep deprived or on drugs or something.
Yeah.
Still, how awful.
Maybe she ingested the drugs that she was
she was muling drugs off to Brazil.
Was scared of getting caught.
And instead they dissolved. Yeah. That's probably what happened. Jeez, what a story though. Ugh.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Oh, I hate that. All right, well, I'm afraid that's the note we're going to have to end it on this morning.
Sorry about that.
But, we're not here to...
We're not here to just brighten you up your day.
No, we're here to ruin your whole fucking Monday as well. I mean, What am I going to say? Oh, this is hardcore. The woman threw a dog over the balcony. All right, bye. Yeah, I think that's the end. I think that's the end of the show. We'll see you on Wednesday.
And these people will stop at nothing. And yes, the Russians helped them last time. The Russians are helping them now. And you cover the White House. You know, the White House has said, don't brief the Congress. Don't even tell them to classify